Tom lived alone near the edge of a quiet forest. His small house stood beside his workshop where he fixed broken machines, old cars, and sometimes even farm tools. Most people in the nearby town didn't visit him much. Tom didn't mind. Liked peaceful days and working with his hands. One night, the sky was clear and full of stars. Tom stood outside, drinking tea and watching the stars shine. He always liked looking at them, wondering what might be out there. He never thought he would get an answer. Suddenly, a bright light streaked across the sky. It wasn't a shooting. Starlit was faster and brighter. The object made a soft roaring sound as it flew overhead and disappeared behind the trees. A few seconds later, Tom heard a loud crash and saw a flash of blue light coming from deep inside the forest. Tom's eyes widened. He quickly grabbed his flashlight and a jacket and ran into the woods. The path was dark and full of roots, but he moved quickly. He followed the smoke and light until he reached a clearing. There, in the middle of the trees, was a strange-looking ship. It was small, about the size of a car, and made of silver metal that shimmered like water. The front of the ship was smashed, and smoke rose from a broken panel. Tom had never seen anything like it, not in books, not in movies, and certainly not in real life. Then he saw her. A figure lay on the ground near the ship. At first he thought it was a person in a costume. But as he got closer, he realized she was not human. Her skin was smooth and light blue, glowing softly in the dark. She wore a suit made of a thin silver material, and her long white hair was tangled and dirty. Her eyes, though closed, had strange markings around them like stars painted on her face. Tom knelt beside her. She was breathing slowly, but she was alive. Her arm looked hurt, and there was a small cut on her forehead. "Hey, Dot. Can you hear me?" Tom asked gently. The girl opened her eyes slightly. They were large and shining like crystal lakes. She looked at Tom and whispered something in a language he didn't understand. Her voice was soft, almost musical. "It's okay," Tom said. "I'm not here to hurt you. I'll help you." She blinked slowly and fainted again. Tom knew he couldn't leave her there. It was cold, and the ship didn't look safe. He gently lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Carefully he carried her back through the forest, making sure not to trip or fall. Back at his workshop, Tom laid her on a soft blanket and cleaned her wounds with water and a towel. He didn't have any medicine for aliens, so he did what he could with what he had. He wrapped her arm and placed a warm cloth on her head. For the rest of the night, Tom sat beside her, watching her sleep. He couldn't believe what was happening. An alien ship had crashed in the forest. A real alien girl was now lying in his workshop. He didn't know what to do. Should he call someone? The government? The news? But something told him not to. She looked peaceful. She didn't seem dangerous. The next morning, as the sun rose, the girl slowly opened her eyes again. She sat up a little, looking around the room. When she saw Tom, she didn't panic. Instead, she gave a small smile. "You, Dot." "Help!" she said in slow, careful English. Tom smiled back. "Yes, I found you." "You crashed." She nodded slowly, then pointed to herself. "Lyra." "Lyra," Tom repeated. "That's your name?" She nodded again. "I'm Tom." Lyra tilted her head. "Tom, Earth." "Yes, this is Earth. You're on Earth now." Lyra looked out the window, then back at him. "Tom, good." Tom chuckled softly. "I try." For the next few hours, Lyra rested while Tom gave her water and some food. She didn't eat much, but she seemed to like the bread and fruit. She pointed to the machines in his workshop and asked simple questions in broken English. Tom answered patiently, showing her how tools worked. By afternoon, Lyra was strong enough to stand. She touched a small device on her wrist, but it blinked red. "Broken," she said, looking worried. "No call, no home? You can't contact your people?" Tom asked. She shook her head. "Crash. Bad. Ship. No work." Tom looked at the forest. He knew the ship was still there. "Maybe we can fix it." Lyra smiled faintly. "You help?" Tom nodded.
Of course.
As the sun set again, Lyra looked at him with soft eyes. "You saved me," she said slowly. "That mean ... much." Tom didn't know what to say. He just nodded. "I couldn't leave you." She looked at him quietly, then placed her hand on her skin was warm, and her touch gentle. Tom felt something stir in his chest. It wasn't fear. It was something new, something he didn't understand yet. The next few days passed quietly in Tom's workshop. Lyra, the alien girl he had saved, slowly began to recover. She still moved carefully, and sometimes she winced when she lifted her left arm. But the worst of her pain had faded. Tom had created a small bed in the corner of the room using old cushions and blankets. Lyra liked to sit near the window during the day, watching the birds and trees outside. Her eyes lit up whenever she saw something new, like a squirrel running along the fence or a butterfly landing on the grass. Tom enjoyed watching her wonder. It reminded him of how magical the world could be, even when he had stopped noticing it. Each day, Lyra learned a little more English. She asked questions using simple words. "What is this?" she would say, pointing to tools, books, or the stove. Tom answered patiently, sometimes drawing pictures or using hand signs to explain this. Tom said one morning, holding up a toaster, "Makes bread hot." "Hot bread," Lyra repeated, smiling. "Tasty." "Yes," Tom said, with a grin. "Very tasty." Lyra laughed softly. Her laugh was light and musical, like wind chimes. It made Tom smile every time. Though she was healing, there was still a problem. Her wrist device was broken. She showed Tom the small silver band many times. It had lights and buttons, but none of them worked. "This... call home," she explained. But now, no talk. Tom leaned over the device and studied it closely. He wasn't a scientist, but he was good with machines. He had fixed hundreds of engines and old radios in his life. He brought out his tools and carefully opened the back of the device. Inside were tiny glowing circuits, unlike anything he had ever seen. But somehow, it felt familiar, like a puzzle waiting to be solved. "I can try," Tom said. "I don't know if I can fix it, but I'll try." Lyra gave him a look of deep trust. "You kind. You help." Tom felt something stir in his heart again. Her words touched him in a way nothing had in a long time. He didn't know why he cared so much. Maybe it was her gentle nature, or the way she looked at him like he mattered. They started spending more time together. In the mornings, Tom worked on her wrist device, while Lyra sat beside him, watching and learning. In the afternoons, they took short walks in the backyard garden. Lyra loved the flowers. She bent down to smell each one and whispered their names after Tom said them. Rose, Daisy, Lily. One evening, as they sat under the stars, Lyra looked up and pointed to a bright cluster in the sky. "My home," she said quietly. Tom followed her finger. "Up there?" "Yes." "Far. Very far." Tom nodded slowly. "Do you miss it?" Lyra thought for a moment. "Yes, but here, not bad." That made Tom laugh. "Thanks, I think." She turned to him. "You, different. From what we learn? What do you mean?" Lyra looked serious now. "Some on my planet say humans are wild, dangerous. But you are kind, soft." Tom looked down. "Not all humans are bad. Some just don't understand." Lyra tilted her head. "Understand what?"
Oh.
Tom paused. "That helping someone, even a stranger, is the right thing to do." Lyra smiled. "You understand?" The next morning, Lyra brought him a small glowing cube she had taken from her ship. It pulsed with light and changed colors when touched. "What's this?" Tom asked. Lyra handed it to him carefully. "Knowledge stone. It teaches. You hold it. It shares my language." Tom blinked. "Wait, really?" She nodded. "Then learning slow." Tom placed his hand on the cube. A warm feeling spread through his fingers, and suddenly his head filled with soft whispers, words, meanings, sounds. It didn't hurt, but it felt strange. After a few minutes, he removed his hand. Whoa. Lyra looked hopeful. Do you understand me now? Tom paused, then nodded. Yes, your words are clearer now. Her face lit up. Then we can speak more. And they did. Tom told her about Earth, about cities, oceans, music, and food. Lyra told him about her planet, Zeller, a peaceful world filled with floating gardens. In Crystal Lakes, we don't fight, she said proudly. We solve problems with minds. Tom raised an eyebrow. That sounds... We haven't figured that part out yet. Lyra reached for his hand. But you're already different. You chose peace. You chose to help. Tom's heart beat a little faster. He didn't know what to say, so he just held her hand back. Later, that night, while Tom worked on a wrist device again, a small spark jumped from the panel. Lyra jumped. What was that? Tom grinned. It's a good sign. It means power is returning. He fiddled with a few wires and pressed one of the buttons. The lights on the device blinked blue, then green. It's working, Tom said, amazed. Lyra gasped. I can call home. She stood up excitedly, but then paused. Her smile faded a little. Tom noticed. What's wrong? Lyra looked down. If I call, they come. And she looked up at him with soft eyes. Then I must leave. Tom's chest tightened. He hadn't thought about that. Of course she would leave. This was never meant to be forever. She came from the stars, and he was just a man with a workshop. He forced a small smile. Let's make sure you get home. Safely. Lyra looked at him for a long moment, then said gently, You are not just a human. You are special. He just nodded and returned to the device, even though his hands felt heavier than before. The next morning, the sky was still dark when Tom woke up. He found Lyra already awake, sitting near the workbench, holding her now working wrist device. The soft green lights blinked slowly. She stared at them without smiling. Tom walked over quietly. Is it ready? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, I checked it many times. He sat beside her. So, you can contact your people now? Yes, she said, her voice quiet. I can send a signal. They will come for me. Tom gave a small smile. It's good, right? They'll be happy to know you're alive. Lyra looked at him. Her eyes were thoughtful. Yes, they will come. But I don't know what happens after. Tom didn't understand at first. You'll go home? She nodded, then added, But I feel different now. Earth is not like I thought. You're not like I thought. Looked down, and you're not like I thought either. There was a short silence between them. Then Lyra stood and walked to the door. She opened it and looked at the sky. The stars were fading into the soft colors of sunrise. Tom joined her. I will send a short signal, she said. They may not come quickly, but they will come. Tom nodded. Then let's do it. Lyra touched her wrist device. Soft humming. Sound came from it. Tiny blue light floated up into the sky and disappeared. It's done, she said softly. Tom felt a strange weight in his chest. He knew things were about to change. He had saved a girl from the stars, but now those stars would take her back. Over the next 2 days, they waited. Lyra seemed quieter than before. She still smiled, still asked questions about Earth, but there was something different in her eyes. Tom tried to stay normal, fixing old radios, cleaning tools, but his mind stayed on her. One evening, Lyra sat by the fire in the backyard. Tom brought her a cup of warm tea. She took it with a nod. We may have some time, she said. Zalari ships don't move fast unless there is danger. Danger? Tom asked. Lyra looked serious. Yes, there are others in space. Not all are peaceful like my people. Some take what they want. Some watch Earth, waiting. Tom's eyebrows rose. Earth? Why? Lyra pointed to the sky. Many planets are old, but Earth is still full of life, still growing, and humans. Your kind is brave. That is rare. Tom blinked. I thought aliens saw us as dangerous. Some do, Lyra agreed. But others see something more. She leaned closer. My people sent me. To observe, to learn. I came to Earth to understand humans. I wasn't supposed to speak to anyone. Just watch. Tom laughed softly. Well, that plan didn't work. Lyra smiled. No, but I'm glad. You changed everything. Tom stared into the fire. Do your people know about me now? Oh, she said. Not yet. I only sent a rescue signal. When they arrive, I will tell them. Tell them looked at her. Tell them what? Lyra looked back, her expression unreadable. That you helped me. That you protected me. That you showed kindness. Tom tried to speak but couldn't find the words. That night he couldn't sleep. He sat by the window, looking at the stars. One of them, far away, held Lyra's home. He wondered what it looked like. Did it have trees, water, music? Would she forget him when she went back? The next day, something strange happened. Lyra was in the garden when her wrist device beeped loudly. She looked down and froze. What is it? Tom asked, rushing over. She stared at the screen. Not my people. Tom frowned. Then, who? Lyra's face turned serious. It's a scan. A ship is coming. Not Zalari. Someone else. Tom felt a chill. Is it dangerous? I don't know, she said. But they followed the signal. Can they hurt us? If they are who I think? Yes. Tom looked toward the sky. How long? Lyra checked her screen. Be one day. Tom didn't panic, but he felt the pressure rise inside. Then we prepare. Lyra looked surprised. Prepare? We don't know who's coming. So we plan. We stay ready. If they're friendly, good. If not, we find a way. Lyra studied his face. You are very human, she said softly. But also, something more. Tom didn't know what she meant. He just nodded. Let's get ready. That night, Lyra showed Tom how to use her device's signal blocker. It was a small button that could hide them for a short time maybe. An hour, not much, but maybe enough to keep them safe. We can hide in the forest, Tom said. There are places deep inside no one knows. Lyra looked at him with respect. You think like one of us? They packed a small bag with food, water, and tools. Just in case, as they worked, Lyra touched his arm. Tom, he turned. I am not afraid, because you are with me. Tom smiled. Same here. She stepped closer and looked up at him. No one has ever done this for me. You risked your life for someone you didn't know. Tom looked into her shining eyes. You were hurt. You needed help. That's enough reason. Lyra nodded slowly. In my culture, someone who saves your life becomes part of your story. Tom's heart beat faster. What kind of story? She looked at him deeply. Maybe. The kind that changes everything. The sun had not yet risen when a deep hum filled the air. It was low and smooth, like wind blowing through metal pipes. Tom opened his eyes at once. He looked out the window and saw a faint light above the forest. Lyra was already standing beside him. Her wrist device glowed bright green. Calm but serious. They're here, she said. Tom stood beside her. Is it the same ship from before? Lyra shook her head. No, this signal is Zalari, my people. Tom felt a mix of relief and sadness. He had known this moment would come, but it came faster than expected. The light in the sky grew brighter. A long silver ship appeared from behind the clouds. It didn't roar like Earth's planes, it moved silently, like a fish swimming through the air. The ship hovered over the trees, then slowly lowered into a nearby clearing. The grass didn't burn. The trees didn't shake. It landed as gently as a leaf. Tom and Lyra walked toward the ship. Birds flew away from the trees, but the forest remained calm. The ship opened with a soft hiss. Platform slid out, and 3 figures walked down. They were tall and graceful, their skin light blue like Lyra's. Their suits were silver and smooth. Glowing slightly in the morning light, one of them, a woman with short white hair, stepped forward. She looked at Lyra, and her eyes filled with emotion. Lyra, she said. Lyra smiled. Mother. They hugged gently. The others stood back, watching. Tom stayed quiet, unsure of what to do. Felt like a stranger now. Lyra turned and gestured toward him. This is Tom. He saved me. Helped me when no one else could. The Zalari woman looked at Tom with curious eyes. You were the one who answered when we could not. Tom gave a small nod. I only did what I thought was right. You did more than that, Lyra said softly. The tall man beside her mother stepped forward. You are human, yet you showed honor. We must understand. The third Zalari pulled out a round device. It floated in the air and spun slowly, then began to project an image, a recording of Lyra's crash. The forest, Tom carrying her, and the two of them talking. Tom watched the images with surprise. You recorded us, Lyra nodded. The device on my ship saved memory before power failed. They will see all. The first woman looked at Lyra. You chose him? Lyra didn't look away. Yes. I chose him. He is kind. He is strong in ways we respect. Tom didn't fully understand, but something in the way they spoke made him feel important. What does that mean? Tom asked. Lyra turned to him. Her voice was soft. In Zalari tradition, when someone saves your life, they become part of your bond, your connection. If the feeling is returned, it becomes something more. Tom blinked. Something more? Lyra stepped closer. It means I have chosen you as my life companion, my mate. Tom felt the world stop for a moment. You what? The Zalari stood silently, watching the two. I told my people, Lyra continued, that I would not just return as one of them. I would return with you, if you accept. What? Tom felt the weight of the moment. He looked at the ship, the people, then back at Lyra. I never thought this would happen. I was just trying to help someone in need. Lyra smiled. That's why you are different. The woman, Lyra's mother, spoke again. Zalari bonds are not forced. We respect choice. The human must choose freely. Tom looked into Lyra's glowing eyes. He saw trust, warmth, and something deeper, something rare. I don't know your world, he said slowly. I don't know what waits for me there, but I do know one thing. What? Lyra asked. I want to stand beside you, wherever that leads. Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. She reached for his hand. He took it. The Zalari made a soft humming sound, almost like music. It was their way of showing joy. The man beside Lyra's mother stepped forward and bowed slightly. To Tom, then you are one of us now. You are welcome among the Zalar. Tom felt his heart beat fast. One moment, everything had changed. He was no longer just a mechanic in a forest workshop. He was now a chosen companion of someone from the stars. But there was more. As the group walked back to the ship, Lyra spoke quietly to Tom. There's something else you should know. What is it? And the signal was sent. Not only my people received it, others may have heard it too. It's the ones who attacked me before. Tom looked serious. They might come here. Yes, Lyra said. And they may not be kind. Tom stopped walking. Then we can't leave Earth unprotected. Lyra nodded. That is why I asked them to come with a small ship. Not to take me away, but to listen, to help. Tom realized then that Lyra had a plan. She wasn't just going home. She wanted to build something new together. The Zalari ship stood ready. Lyra looked at Tom. Will you come with me? Just for a short time to see my world? Tom took a deep breath. Yes, but only if we return. Earth is still my home. And now, Lyra said, it is part of mine too. Together, they stepped onto the ship. As the doors closed behind them, Tom looked back at the forest, the stars above, and the path ahead. He had saved an alien girl. But now, she had given him something even greater, a place among the stars, and a future he had never imagined. Tom stood in the middle of the Zalari ship, looking around with wide eyes. Everything inside was bright, smooth, and silent. The walls shimmered like glass, but felt warm to the touch. Lights floated gently in the air, changing colors as people walked by. The air smelled clean, like fresh rain. Lyra stood beside him, smiling as she watched his reactions. Are you all right? She asked softly. Tom nodded slowly. I feel like I'm dreaming. You're not, Lyra replied. This is real. You're on a Zalari starship. Tom let out a deep breath. Beautiful and very quiet. Lyra laughed lightly. Our ships don't make much noise. We like peace, even in travel. A tall Zalari man approached them. His voice was calm. You must be Tom. I am Dallin, Chief of Communications. I will help you learn about our customs. Tom shook his hand. The touch was soft but firm.
Nice.
To meet you? Dallin led them through a long hallway that opened into a large room with clear walls. Outside, stars drifted slowly past, and a nearby planet glowed blue and green. This is the observation room, Dallin explained. We come here to think, to learn, to remember who we are. Tom walked closer to the glass. It's amazing. I've never seen the stars like this. You are seeing them with new eyes, Lyra said. Tom turned to her, and I have a lot to learn. Over the next few days, Tom stayed on the ship as it traveled toward a peaceful Zalari station near the edge of their star system. The ship didn't move fast. It glided gently, using light energy to flow through space. There was no rushing, no engines roaring. Everything felt calm each day. Tom learned something new. He learned how Zalari grew food without soil, using air and light. He saw how they healed wounds using soft energy waves. He even saw schools where young Zalari children learned about stars, history, and kindness. But the most interesting thing Tom learned was about bonding in the Zalari culture. A bond was more than love. It was a connection between hearts, minds, and purpose. When someone saved another, it created a link. But if both felt the same connection, they could become bonded for life. Lyra explained it to him while they walked through the ship's peaceful garden. We don't force bonds, she said. But when two people choose it, it becomes very strong. Tom looked around at the floating plants and gentle lights. So, you really meant it? You chose me? Lyra nodded. Yes. And I waited to see if you would choose to. Tom stopped walking. And if I do? She smiled. Then my people will honor it. You will be welcomed as my equal, not as a guest, as family. Tom thought for a moment. That's a big step. It is, Lyra said softly, but I think you already took it. Tom reached out and gently held her hand. I think we did too. Later that evening, Tom was invited to a Zalari gathering. It was not like an Earth party. There was no loud music or dancing. Instead, the room was filled with soft lights, warm food, and quiet voices. People sat in circles and shared stories. When it was Tom's turn, he stood up and spoke. I'm just a mechanic from Earth, he began. I never thought I'd meet someone like Lyra, or stand on a ship like this. I didn't do anything great. I just saw someone who needed help. The room was silent as they listened, but maybe he continued. That's what matters. Helping even when it's not easy. Even when the person is from a different world. The Zalari nodded slowly. Dallin stood and said, that is the spirit of true bonding. You may not know our ways, Tom, but your heart already follows them. Tom smiled and sat back down. Lyra leaned close and whispered, I'm proud of you. The next day, Tom helped. One of the engineers fixed a problem with a cooling system in the ship. The Zalari used advanced systems, but they were impressed by Tom's practical thinking. He suggested a simple solution, using a small airflow tunnel to keep the system balanced. It's not fancy, Tom said. But it works. The engineer smiled, simple and clever. That is the strength of Earth minds. Tom felt proud. He was finally feeling useful, not just a visitor, but a contributor. That night, Lyra took him to a special chamber filled with small floating stones. Each stone glowed with a soft light and pulsed when someone stood near. This is the memory room, she said. Each stone holds the story of a bond. Tom stepped closer to one. It glowed brighter as he neared. Lyra held out a small stone to him. This one is ours. He touched it. The stone lit up and showed tiny moving images Lyra's crash. Tom, carrying her, their talks, the garden, the stars. This will be placed among the others, Lyra said, so that even when we are far, Our bond will be remembered. Tom was quiet for a long time. Then he turned to her. I'm ready, Lyra. For what? For the bond? I choose it too. Lyra's eyes filled with light. She took his hand, and together they placed the memory stone into the wall with the others. It floated into place and glowed brighter than the rest. The room filled with soft music notes, rising gently like wind. From that moment, Tom was no longer just a visitor from Earth. He was part of the Zalari, and Lyra was no longer alone. Tom stood beside Lyra in the great viewing hall of the Zalari space station. Outside the wide glass walls, stars floated quietly in the distance. The station was peaceful, filled with soft lights, warm colors, and gentle voices. But today the air felt heavy. A soft beep came from Lyra's wrist device. She looked down at it, then turned serious. They found something, she said. Tom leaned closer. What is it? Lyra pressed a few buttons. A screen appeared in the air in front of them. It showed a moving object, dark, fast, and heading toward Earth's direction. That's not a Zalari ship, Lyra said softly. It's someone else. Someone from the outer systems. Tom's chest tightened. The ones who attacked you before? Maybe, Lyra replied. The design is similar. It's an old scout ship used by the Dravari. Tom remembered the name from one of Lyra's stories. The Dravari were not like the Zalari. They took planets, stole resources, and saw humans as unimportant. Are they dangerous? He asked. Lyra nodded. Yes, they don't speak much. They just take. Tom frowned. So they followed your signal? It's possible, she said. The signal I sent was meant for the Zalari. But if others were watching, they may have followed it too. Tom looked out the window. Earth was still far away. But the idea of danger heading toward it made his stomach turn. We have to warn someone, he said. We will, Lyra replied. But the Zalari do not use weapons quickly. They try peace first. Tom thought for a moment. That's a good thing. But we also need a plan, just in case. Later that day, Tom and Lyra sat with the Zalari counselor group of wise leaders who guided their people. They listened as Lyra explained the situation. Beside her, quiet but alert, Dalen, the council's speaker, nodded. We have confirmed the ship's path. It is not friendly. What will you do? Tom asked. We will send a peaceful message, Dalen said calmly. If they do not respond, we will block their path. Tom took a deep breath. And if they attack? Dalen looked at him with soft eyes. We'll defend, but only as the last option. Tom looked around the room. I understand your way, but humans, we prepare early. That's how we survive. Another council member, a woman named Elira, leaned forward. What would you do, Tom? Of Earth? Tom thought for a moment. I'd study the enemy, learn their weakness, and find a way to stop them without using force if possible. Lyra spoke softly. He means strategy. Earth people are very good at it. Dalen gave a slight smile. Then perhaps we should learn from Earth. With the council's support, Tom and Lyra began planning. They met with Zalari engineers and thinkers. Together, they studied the Dravari ship's movements. Tom suggested creating a light field trap a wall of energy that could confuse the enemy ship's sensors. It won't hurt them, he explained, drawing on a screen. It'll just make them see things that aren't there. Might make them turn away. Zalari engineers were impressed. It's clever, one of them said. Simple, but unexpected. Tom smiled. That's how we think on Earth. As the Dravari ship drew closer, the Zalari team built the trap in space. Tiny drones flew out, spreading bright energy threads that blended into the stars. Lyra watched. The work with pride. You are changing how they see humans. Tom looked at her maybe, but I just want Earth to be safe. On the third day, the Dravari ship entered the trap zone. Everyone watched from the station's main hall. The screens showed the ship slowing down, then turning slightly. Lights blinked in confusion. They've entered the trap, Dalen said. Let us see what they choose. For a long minute, the ship hovered. Then, without warning, it turned away and vanished into deep space. A quiet cheer rose through the hall. The plan had worked without a single weapon. Tom let out a breath. They left. Lyra smiled. Your idea saved Earth. Tom shook his head. Not just mine. It was teamwork. Your people trusted me. That means everything. The council thanked Tom for his help. You've shown that Earth holds wisdom, Dallin said. Your kind may be new to space, but you have strength we respect. Lyra stepped beside Tom. He is more than just a visitor now. He is my bondmate. Everyone in the room bowed slightly, a room filled with the Zelari melody of joy. Tom felt something warm grow in his heart. He had come from a quiet forest. In a small workshop, now he stood among the stars, not just as a helper, but as one of them. That evening, Tom and Lyra stood in the garden chamber again. Soft lights glowed like tiny moons, and the plants swayed gently in the air. We did it, Tom said. Lyra looked up at him. Together, he turned to her. What happens now? Lyra smiled. We return to Earth for a time. Council wants to learn more about your world, and I want to see your trees again. Tom laughed. I think Earth will be very surprised. Then be, she said. Your world has much to show. He took her hand and looked out at the stars. I never thought saving someone would lead me here. Lyra leaned on his shoulder. Sometimes, one kind action changes the path of the future. Tom nodded. Then, I'm glad I chose that path. A few days after the Dravari ship turned away, Tom stood in the garden chamber of the Zelari space station. The floating lights above swayed like soft fireflies. Around him, the plants grew gently in the air. Untouched by gravity, Lyra stood beside him, her silver suit glowing under the soft light. The council has agreed, she said with a smile. We're going to Earth. Tom looked at her with surprise. Really? They're coming? Not all, Lyra said. Just a few. Scientists, peace workers, and historians. They want to learn about humans and meet the people who helped save me. Tom felt something warm in his chest. That's good. I think Earth needs to see that not all aliens are scary. And Earth needs to know. You were chosen not just by me, but by the stars. The Zelari ship gently entered Earth's atmosphere. Unlike human spacecraft, it made no noise, shimmered like light bending in water. The ship landed quietly in a wide field near Tom's small workshop. Just beyond the forest, it had been nearly 2 weeks since Tom left. The trees still stood tall, the grass still danced in the wind, and the birds sang like before. But to Tom, everything now felt different, more meaningful. He stepped off the ship with Lyra by his side. The people from the nearby town came quickly when they saw the silver ship. At first, there was fear. People whispered. Some stayed far back, but when they saw Tom step forward, their fear turned into curiosity. Tom, one of the townspeople asked, Is that real? Tom nodded. It's real. And there. Not here to harm us. Lyra stepped forward and spoke slowly in English. We come in peace. We come to learn. We come because one human showed us kindness. There was silence for a moment. Then an older woman stepped forward. You helped our Tom? Lyra smiled. He helped me first. That broke the tension. People came closer. They asked questions. The Zelari answered with patience and warmth. Children laughed as floating lights moved around them. One man offered tea. A woman brought bread by sunset. The small town that once knew nothing about the stars was sitting with visitors from another world sharing stories. Food and music. Tom sat on the porch of his workshop watching the stars rise above the trees. Lyra sat beside him, her eyes glowing softly in the night. This is where you found me, she said, looking at the dark line of trees. Yes, Tom replied. You were lying near the crashed ship. I didn't know what to do, but I knew. I had to help. Lyra looked at him, and that choice changed to worlds. Tom smiled. Maybe more than 2. Lyra reached into a small pouch and pulled out a thin silver band. This is for you, she said. What is it? A symbol, she replied. Among the Zelar, when 2 lives become one path, we wear this. Not to show ownership, but to show connection. Tom held the band carefully. It felt warm, like it remembered her touch. And you want me to wear it? I do, she said. If you still choose our bond. Looked at her and nodded. I chose it the day I carried. You out of the forest? I just didn't know it yet. She smiled and placed the band on his wrist. It glowed gently, then faded into a soft, silver shine. Tom looked at her. So, what now? Lyra looked up at the stars. Now we build a bridge between our worlds. You'll stay here, and I'll visit often. Maybe one day more humans will. Visit my planet too. We'll show them the garden chamber, Tom said with a grin. And you'll show them the toaster, Lyra added. They both laughed. In the following weeks, Earth and Zalari shared knowledge. The small field near Tom's home became a peaceful meeting point. Zalari shared their floating gardens and energy light tools. Humans showed them music, books, cooking, and painting. Tom's workshop became a study center where he helped translate ideas between Earth engineers and Zalari thinkers. He didn't have a degree or special title, but everyone listened to him because he had started it all with one simple act of kindness. People came from far away to meet him. Scientists, reporters, even leaders. But Tom always stayed the same. Still fixed old tools. He still drank tea on the porch. And he still walked with Lyra through the forest when the stars were out. Sometimes he asked himself, why me? Why was I the one to find her? But the answer always came back simple. Because you cared. And that was enough. One evening, a young boy from the town asked Tom a question. Do you think more aliens will come someday? Tom looked at the stars and smiled. Maybe. But if they do, I hope they find someone kind to meet them first. The boy thought for a moment. Like you? Tom laughed. Maybe, or maybe someone like you. Lyra stood nearby, listening. As the boy ran off, she looked at Tom and said, You give them hope. Tom looked up. No, we give them hope. As the stars shimmered above, two worlds, one old and one new, stood a little closer. All because one man chose to help a girl who fell from the sky. And in doing so, he found more than just friendship. He found love, purpose, and a place among the stars. The end.